Ladies and gentlemen, today we will speak about a profound and often overlooked reality, the unloved woman. She is the silent figure in the background whose existence is marked not by her potential, but by the scars of rejection, neglect, and misunderstanding. An unloved woman is not unloved because she lacks worth, beauty, or strength. She is unloved because the world often fails to see her for who she truly is. In the same way, a diamond buried deep in the earth is no less valuable because it is unseen. Her value is inherent. Her worth does not diminish just because someone fails to recognize it. The greatest longing of the human soul is to be seen, to be known, and to be loved. Yet the unloved woman walks a path where these needs are unmet. Her heart carries the weight of questions. Am I enough? Do I matter? Will anyone choose me? But I tell you today, the issue is not with her. Her worth is not dictated by the eyes of others. Love, when authentic, is a gift. It is not earned, it is recognized. The unloved woman must first remember this truth: you are already loved by your Creator, by yourself, and by the potential future you are walking toward. When God formed you, He placed in you everything you need for a life of purpose and fulfillment. Love from others is a blessing, but it is not your source of identity. The challenge for the unloved woman is to stop seeking external validation and start tapping into the treasure within. You are not defined by who abandoned you, who overlooked you, or who failed to appreciate you. You are defined by the fact that you exist with purpose written into the fabric of your being. Many women have faced rejection and have allowed it to shape their lives. But rejection is not the final verdict. It is merely a redirection. Think of the unloved woman in history who was told no again and again, only to discover that she was not meant to be accepted by everyone. She was meant to be accepted by the right people. When you understand your worth, you will no longer settle for crumbs of affection. You will know you deserve the feast of love that comes from a healthy heart. Unloved does not mean unloved forever. Your present reality is not your final destination. You have a choice. Will you allow the pain of being unloved to crush you, or will you let it refine you? Do not let bitterness take root in your heart. Instead, let this season of feeling unloved teach you to love yourself and others more deeply. Become the woman who creates a legacy, not the woman who is defined by her losses. If you find yourself in the position of the unloved woman, let me leave you with this: your value is not a matter of opinion, it is a matter of truth. Your worth is not determined by who left, but by the potential that remains. Stand tall, beloved. You are more than enough. Your best days are ahead of you. Walk in love, and love will find its way to you. Their self-worth is not something that is given or taken by others. It is an intrinsic part of who we are. It is woven into the very fabric of our being, an undeniable truth that exists regardless of circumstances or the perceptions of others. When we misunderstand this, we allow the opinions, actions, and attitudes of the world around us to shape how we see ourselves. This creates a life lived in reaction, where external validation becomes the driving force of identity, leaving the soul fragile and unsteady. But when a woman embraces the reality that her self-worth is inherent, she steps into a realm of power that cannot be diminished or destroyed. From the moment a woman enters the world, her worth is already established. It does not grow with accomplishments or shrink with failures. It is not amplified by praise or reduced by criticism. Society, however, often sends a very different message. From a young age, women are told, whether explicitly or implicitly, that their value is tied to how they look, how much they achieve, or how well they meet the expectations of others. The noise of this world tries to convince them that they must strive endlessly to prove their significance. And yet, no amount of striving can create something that is already there. Self-worth is not earned, it is recognized. The problem arises when a woman forgets to recognize her own worth. She begins to chase affirmation in relationships, careers, or material possessions, hoping that external things will fill an internal void. But the void does not exist because she is unworthy. It exists because she has lost sight of her inherent value. A woman who ties her self-worth to external factors is like a bird with wings who forgets she can fly. She looks around wondering why others seem to soar while she remains grounded, unaware that everything she needs has been with her all along. It is important to understand that recognizing one's self-worth is not an act of arrogance or selfishness. It is an act of truth. Just as the sun shines without needing permission, so too should a woman acknowledge her value without apology. This acknowledgement is not about superiority or comparison. It is about authenticity. It is about standing in the light of who you are and refusing to let anyone or anything dim that light. That when a woman understands her self-worth, she becomes unshakable. She no longer accepts relationships that diminish her, environments that stifle her, or situations that compromise her dignity. She learns to say no to what does not serve her growth and yes to what aligns with her purpose. She stops seeking approval from those who fail to see her value because she knows that their inability to recognize her worth says more about them than it does about her. She becomes free not because the world changes, but because she changes the way she sees herself. There is a profound strength that comes with knowing your self-worth. It allows a woman to walk away from what is harmful and to walk toward what is healing. It gives her the courage to set boundaries, the confidence to pursue her dreams, and the resilience to rise after setbacks. It anchors her in truth, even when the storms of life try to toss her about. This strength is not loud or boastful. It is quiet but firm, like the roots of a tree that stands strong no matter how fierce the wind. For the unloved woman, understanding her self-worth is particularly vital. The experience of being unloved can leave deep wounds, making it easy to believe the lie that she is unworthy of love. But the truth is this: her worth is not determined by who loves her or who doesn't. It is not diminished by rejection, nor is it elevated by acceptance. Her worth simply is. It is constant, unwavering, and eternal. The love she may not receive from others does not define her. What defines her is the love she has for herself and the love her Creator has for her. When a woman embraces her inherent self-worth, she begins to see herself differently. She no longer views herself through the lens of others' opinions, but through the lens of truth. This shift in perspective changes everything. It changes the way she carries herself, the way she speaks, and the way she makes decisions. It changes the way she allows herself to dream and the way she dares to live. She no longer waits for permission to be who she is. She steps boldly into her identity, knowing that she is enough just as she is. This understanding of self-worth also has a ripple effect on others. When a woman knows her value, she inspires those around her to recognize their own. She becomes a source of light and strength, not because she seeks to be, but because she naturally is. Her confidence is not intimidating, it is inviting. It shows others what is possible when one chooses to live in alignment with their true worth. The journey to recognizing self-worth is not always easy. It often requires unlearning years of conditioning and letting go of false beliefs. It demands that a woman confront her fears, doubts, and insecurities, choosing to believe in her value even when it feels difficult. But this journey is worth it because it leads to a life of freedom and fulfillment. It leads to a life where a woman no longer questions her place in the world, but claims it with certainty and grace. As a woman grows in her understanding of her self-worth, she begins to notice how her life changes. She attracts relationships that honor her, opportunities that challenge and fulfill her, and circumstances that align with her deepest desires. She stops settling for less than she deserves because she knows she deserves the best. This is not about entitlement, it is about alignment. When a woman knows her worth, she aligns herself with the life she was created to live, a life of purpose, joy, and abundance. Even in moments of failure or weakness, a woman's self-worth remains intact. It is not tied to her performance or her perfection, it is tied to her being. She can make mistakes, face rejection, or experience heartbreak, yet her worth remains unscathed. This truth is liberating because it means she can live boldly and authentically without fear of losing her value. She can embrace her imperfections and still know she is worthy. She can face life's challenges and still know she is enough. A woman who understands her self-worth does not need to prove it to anyone. She does not need to shout it from the rooftops or seek constant validation. Her confidence is quiet but undeniable, rooted in the knowledge that she is valuable simply because she exists. This kind of confidence is magnetic because it is real. It draws people in not because she demands attention, but because she radiates a sense of peace and assurance that is deeply compelling. The truth is, every woman has this worth within her. It does not matter where she comes from, what she has been through, or what she has accomplished. Her worth is not conditional, it is universal. But to live in alignment with this truth, she must choose to believe it. She must choose to let go of the lies that tell her she is not enough. She must choose to silence the voices, whether external or internal, that try to diminish her. She must choose to stand in the truth of who she is and walk in the power of her inherent value. When a woman chooses to embrace her self-worth, she transforms not only her life but the world around her. She becomes a force for good, a source of hope, and an example of what it means to live authentically. Her worth is no longer hidden or doubted, it is celebrated. And in celebrating her worth, she gives others permission to celebrate theirs as well. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences a person can endure. It leaves a mark, a sting that lingers in the heart and mind, often questioning one's worth, abilities, or purpose. But rejection, while painful, is not the end of the story. It is, in fact, a necessary part of life's process, a step in the journey towards something greater. It is not a door that closes forever, but a gentle or sometimes forceful push in a new direction. When seen through the right lens, rejection transforms from a source of despair into an opportunity for growth, redirection, and alignment with what is truly meant for us. Rejection has a way of revealing things that might otherwise remain hidden. It forces introspection, a pause to consider what truly matters and what is worth pursuing. When a person is rejected, be it in relationships, careers, or dreams, they often feel that they have lost something valuable. But in reality, rejection is a divine act of refinement. It strips away illusions and false paths, clearing the way for something better, something aligned with a greater purpose. It is not a denial of worth, but a realignment of priorities. Life is filled with stories of people who faced rejection and emerged stronger, wiser, and more successful. Their paths, though filled with obstacles, became testimonies of resilience and purpose. They did not allow rejection to define them. Instead, they let it refine them. They understood that rejection is not about being unworthy or incapable, but about being redirected toward what truly belongs to them. Sometimes what we think we want is far less than what we deserve, and rejection serves as a reminder of this truth. The pain of rejection often stems from attachment. People become attached to specific outcomes, relationships, or goals, believing that their happiness and fulfillment depend on these things. When rejection occurs, it feels like a loss of identity, as though a part of themselves has been taken away. But this is an illusion. Identity is not tied to what is lost, but to what remains. Rejection is a call to release attachment and embrace the possibilities that lie beyond. It is an invitation to trust in the unfolding of life, to believe that there is a plan greater than what can be seen in the moment. Rejection also serves as a teacher. It teaches humility, resilience, and the ability to adapt. It shows the strength that lies within, the capacity to endure and overcome. Each rejection is a lesson in letting go of control and embracing faith. It teaches that worth is not dependent on acceptance by others, but on an unshakable belief in oneself. Rejection strips away external validation and forces a person to seek validation from within. This is where true strength is found, not in being accepted, but in accepting oneself. That action is not failure, it is redirection. It is the universe's way of saying, this is not the path for you. There is something better waiting. It may not feel like it at the time, but rejection is often a blessing in disguise. It protects from settling for less, from walking paths that lead to dead ends, and from investing energy in things that do not align with one's purpose. It clears the way for opportunities that are more fitting, relationships that are more fulfilling, and dreams that are more meaningful. When a person faces rejection, the initial reaction is often to retreat, to hide away from the pain and avoid future risks. But this response only prolongs the suffering. Rejection is not meant to diminish, it is meant to empower. It is a call to rise above fear and move forward with greater clarity and determination. It is a reminder that every closed door leads to another that is open, waiting to be discovered. The path may not be linear, but it is always leading somewhere. Rejection also tests character. It reveals who a person truly is in the face of disappointment. It is easy to remain confident and hopeful when everything is going well, but rejection asks the deeper question, will you still believe in yourself when others don't? God, will you still pursue your dreams when the world says no? These moments of rejection are crucibles, forging resilience and unwavering faith. They shape character in ways that success alone never could. The truth about rejection is that it is universal. No one is immune to it, and everyone experiences it in some form. Yet what sets individuals apart is how they respond to it. Some let rejection define them, holding on to it like a weight that drags them down. Others use it as fuel, a catalyst for change and growth. They see rejection not as a final verdict, but as a stepping stone, a redirection towards something greater. This perspective shifts the narrative from one of loss to one of possibility. A rejection also reminds us of the importance of alignment. Sometimes the things we pursue are not meant for us, not because we are unworthy, but because they are not part of the plan that leads to our highest potential. Rejection, then, is not about being turned away, but about being turned towards something better. It is about being guided to a place where we can thrive, where our gifts can be fully realized, and where we can contribute in the most meaningful way. Every rejection holds a lesson, a gift waiting to be discovered. It may take time to see it, but with patience and reflection, the purpose behind the rejection becomes clear. It teaches perseverance, courage, and the importance of trusting the process. It shows that life is not about clinging to what is lost, but about embracing what is yet to come. Rejection is not the end of the road. It is a bend in the path leading to a destination far greater than imagined. Love is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, yet it is often misunderstood. People spend their lives searching for it, yearning for it, and sometimes compromising for it, all while failing to realize that the most profound and enduring love begins not from the outside, but within. Love is not something to be found, it is something to be cultivated. It is not something to be given by others to make one whole, but a truth that already exists within, waiting to be recognized and nurtured. When love begins from within, it changes everything. It shifts the way one perceives themselves, the way they interact with others, and the way they navigate life's challenges. To love oneself is not an act of selfishness or vanity. It is the foundation upon which all other forms of love are built. Without this foundation, even the most beautiful relationships and experiences can feel hollow as they are sought to fill a void that only self-love can truly satisfy. The idea of loving oneself can feel foreign, even uncomfortable for many people. Society often equates self-love with arrogance or selfishness, creating a culture where people feel obligated to prioritize others at the expense of their own well-being. But self-love is not about placing oneself above others. It is about honoring one's own worth while still being able to honor the worth of others. It is about recognizing that just as others are deserving of love and care, so too are you. Love that starts from within is not dependent on external validation or circumstances. It is not contingent upon achievements, relationships, or appearances. It does not waver in the face of criticism or failure. This kind of love is steady, constant, and unwavering because it comes from a place of truth. It acknowledges that worth is inherent, not earned, and that being flawed or imperfect does not make one any less deserving of love. When love begins within, it creates a sense of wholeness that cannot be shaken by external forces. It eliminates the need to seek approval or validation from others, freeing one from the exhausting cycle of trying to prove their worth. It allows a person to show up authentically in the world without fear of rejection or judgment. They no longer feel the need to conform to expectations or hide parts of themselves to be accepted. They know that their worth is not determined by how others perceive them, but by the simple fact that they exist. This inner love also transforms the way people experience relationships. When a person loves themselves, they no longer seek relationships to complete them, but to complement them. They do not approach others from a place of neediness or insecurity, but from a place of abundance. They are able to give and receive love freely without fear of loss or rejection because they know that their source of love is not external but internal. They do not rely on others to make them feel whole because they already feel whole within themselves. When love starts from within, it creates healthier boundaries. A person who loves themselves knows what they deserve and will not settle for less. They are able to recognize when a relationship or situation is not serving their well-being and have the courage to walk away. They do not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or abuse because they know their worth and will not allow others to diminish it. They understand that loving oneself means protecting one's peace and prioritizing one's mental, emotional, and physical health. This self-love also enables forgiveness, both for oneself and others. People often carry the weight of guilt, shame, or regret, holding on to mistakes or failures as if they define them. But when love begins within, it allows for self-compassion. It acknowledges that everyone makes mistakes and that imperfection is part of the human experience. It frees a person from the need to be perfect and allows them to embrace their humanity. This same compassion extends to others, enabling forgiveness and understanding even in the face of hurt or disappointment. The journey to cultivating love from within is not always easy. It requires unlearning years of conditioning and confronting deeply ingrained beliefs about worth and value. It requires patience, vulnerability, and the willingness to face oneself honestly. How many people have been taught to place their value in external things, appearance, achievements, relationships, and to judge themselves harshly when they fall short? Breaking free from these patterns takes courage and commitment. The process of loving oneself often begins with small, intentional acts of self-care and self-compassion. It may involve speaking kindly to oneself, setting aside time for rest and rejuvenation, or simply acknowledging one's feelings without judgment. These acts may seem insignificant at first, but over time they build a foundation of trust and acceptance within. They send a powerful message: I am worthy of care. I am worthy of love. As this love grows, it begins to influence every aspect of life. It shapes the way a person approaches challenges, the way they pursue their goals, and the way they interact with others. It fosters resilience in the face of adversity, giving a person the strength to persevere even when circumstances are difficult. It inspires them to dream bigger and to believe in their ability to achieve those dreams. It creates a sense of inner peace and contentment even in the midst of chaos. Love that starts from within also has a ripple effect. When a person loves themselves, they become a source of love for others. Their confidence and authenticity inspire those around them to embrace their own worth. Their compassion and understanding create a safe space for others to be vulnerable and to grow. Their joy and fulfillment radiate outward, touching the lives of everyone they encounter. In this way, self-love is not a selfish act. It is an act of service, a way of contributing to the world by showing what is possible when love begins within. It is important to recognize that self-love is not a destination, but a journey. It is not something that is achieved once and for all, but something that must be nurtured and maintained over time. There will be days when it feels easy and natural, and there will be days when it feels difficult and forced. But even in the moments of struggle, the commitment to love oneself remains vital. It is a commitment to show up for oneself, even when it feels hard, and to choose love over judgment, compassion over criticism. When a person truly embraces the idea that love starts from within, they experience a profound sense of freedom. They are no longer bound by the need to prove themselves or to earn love from others. They are free to be who they are, to pursue their passions, and to live life on their own terms. They are free to love others without fear, knowing that their source of love is infinite and unshakable. They are free to face challenges with courage, knowing that they have the strength and resilience to overcome them. Most importantly, they are free to live a life of authenticity, fulfillment, and joy, rooted in the unshakable truth of their own worth. Bitterness is a silent poison, one that creeps into the heart and mind unnoticed, yet its effects are profound and far-reaching. It begins as a seed planted in moments of pain, rejection, or disappointment. At first, it might feel justified, an instinctive response to being wronged or hurt. But as it takes root, bitterness grows into something far more damaging, affecting not just the person who harbors it, but everyone around them. It clouds judgment, corrodes relationships, and creates a barrier to personal growth and peace. The danger of bitterness lies not only in its ability to consume the present, but also in its power to steal the future. Bitterness thrives in the soil of unresolved hurt. When a person experiences pain and chooses to dwell on it rather than address it, bitterness begins to grow. It feeds on the narrative of injustice, rehearsing the wrongs and replaying the offenses. Over time, this fixation becomes a cycle, a loop of negativity that is difficult to escape. Bitterness convinces a person that holding on to resentment will somehow bring justice or closure, but in truth, it only prolongs the suffering. The offender may move on, unaware or unaffected, while the bitter individual remains trapped, reliving the hurt and letting it shape their identity. One of the most insidious aspects of bitterness is that it feels empowering at first. It provides a sense of righteousness, a belief that the anger and resentment are justified. But this false sense of power is fleeting, and it quickly turns into a heavy burden. Bitterness is a weight that a person carries often unknowingly, and it drains energy, joy, and hope. It robs them of the ability to see the beauty in life or to embrace new opportunities. It blinds them to the possibilities of healing, reconciliation, and growth because it keeps them tethered to the past. Bitterness also has a way of isolating people. Those who hold onto resentment often build walls around themselves, shutting out the very connections that could bring healing and comfort. They may become suspicious of others, fearing betrayal or hurt, and as a result, they push away relationships that might otherwise flourish. The bitterness becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, creating the loneliness and disconnection it fears most. Over time, the bitter person may find themselves surrounded by distance and silence, wondering why life feels so empty, yet unable to see that their bitterness has played a role in creating that reality. The impact of bitterness is not limited to the emotional, relational realm. It can also affect physical health. Studies have shown that prolonged anger and resentment can lead to increased stress, weakened immunity, and a higher risk of chronic illnesses. The body responds to bitterness as it would to any prolonged negative state, with elevated cortisol levels and other stress-related effects. What begins as an emotional response becomes a physical burden, further diminishing quality of life. In this way, bitterness does not just hurt the heart, it harms the body as well. Bitterness also stifles personal growth and creativity. When a person is consumed by resentment, their energy is directed toward maintaining that resentment rather than pursuing goals or dreams. They become stuck, unable to move forward because they are so focused on what has been lost or wronged. Opportunities for growth, joy, and success pass by unnoticed because the bitter person is too preoccupied with the past to seize the present. Bitterness narrows the mind and hardens the heart, leaving little room for imagination, curiosity, or hope. Perhaps the greatest danger of bitterness is its ability to distort perspective. A bitter person often sees the world through the lens of their pain, interpreting events and interactions in ways that reinforce their resentment. They may assume the worst of others, misinterpret kindness as manipulation, or view setbacks as personal attacks. This distorted perspective creates a cycle of negativity where bitterness feeds on itself and grows stronger. It becomes harder to trust, to hope, or to believe in the goodness of others, and this cynicism only deepens the isolation and despair. Bitterness is not just a personal issue, it affects everyone it touches. The bitterness of one person can spread like a contagion, influencing the attitudes and behaviors of those around them. It can create tension in families, hostility in workplaces, and division in communities. Bitter words and actions have a ripple effect, spreading hurt and resentment to others. In this way, bitterness not only damages the individual who harbors it, but also the relationships and environments they are part of. And letting go of bitterness is not easy. It requires a conscious choice to confront the pain, acknowledge the hurt, and then release it. Forgiveness plays a central role in this process, not as an act of condoning the wrong, but as a way of freeing oneself from its grip. Forgiveness is not about forgetting or excusing what happened. It is about choosing not to let it define or control one's life. It is an act of self-liberation, a decision to reclaim peace and joy. Choosing to let go of bitterness also requires humility and vulnerability. It means admitting that holding on to resentment has caused harm, not just to oneself, but potentially to others as well. It means being willing to seek help, whether through friends, counselors, or spiritual practices, and allowing others to walk alongside in the journey of healing. It is not a path that can be walked alone, but it is one that leads to freedom. Healing from bitterness does not happen overnight. It is a process that takes time, patience, and intention. It involves reframing the narrative of the hurt, choosing to see it as a chapter in the story rather than the whole book. It means finding gratitude even in difficult circumstances and focusing on what is still good and beautiful in life. It means daring to hope again, even when it feels risky, and believing that there is more to life than the pain of the past. Bitterness is a thief, but it is not invincible. Its power lies in the willingness to hold on to it, and its defeat comes in the choice to let it go. When a person chooses to release bitterness, they make room for healing, joy, and connection. They reclaim their energy, their perspective, and their ability to live fully. They open the door to new possibilities, new relationships, and a new sense of peace. Letting go of bitterness is not just an act of release, it is an act of courage, a declaration that pain will not have the final say. A new vision for the future is not simply a matter of imagining what could be, it is a matter of rethinking how we view ourselves, our society, and the world. It is about embracing change, shedding old paradigms, and welcoming a future built on the principles of unity, sustainability, and innovation. This vision requires a shift in perspective, a move away from short-term thinking and immediate gratification toward long-term goals where the well-being of future generations takes precedence. It challenges us to think beyond the limits of our current circumstances, to envision a world where possibilities are not confined to the present reality, but are shaped by bold ideas and collective action. For too long, humanity has been driven by a vision of the future rooted in individualism, competition, and consumption. We have built economies and societies that prioritize material gain and short-term success over the long-term sustainability of our planet and the flourishing of all people. This mindset has led to environmental degradation, social inequality, and political instability. But a new vision calls us to shift focus from personal accumulation to communal prosperity, from exploiting resources to nurturing them, from striving for power to striving for peace. In this new vision, the future is not something to be feared or endured, but something to be shaped through conscious choices and collaborative effort. The challenges we face today, climate change, economic inequality, technological disruption, and social division, are not insurmountable. They are opportunities to rethink how we live, work, and relate to one another. They are invitations to create systems that serve everyone, not just a select few, and to build a world where the health of the planet is as important as the health of our economies and societies. The foundation of this new vision lies in the understanding that everything is interconnected. Our individual actions have global consequences, and the fate of one is tied to the fate of all. The choices we make today, how we consume, how we treat others, how we interact with the environment, shape the world we will leave behind. This realization calls for a profound shift in how we live and work. It calls for a deep commitment to social responsibility and environmental stewardship, a commitment to creating systems that promote equity, justice, and sustainability. A new vision for the future demands an overhaul of the systems and structures that have dominated our lives for centuries. Education, healthcare, and governance must be reimagined to prioritize the needs of all people, not just a privileged few. Education should be about more than acquiring knowledge. It should be about fostering creativity, critical thinking, empathy, and collaboration. It should prepare individuals not only to succeed in the job market, but to thrive as responsible global citizens who are equipped to address the pressing issues of our time. Healthcare must be accessible to all, not just to those who can afford it. It should prioritize prevention and well-being, focusing on holistic approaches that address the root causes of illness rather than simply treating symptoms. A healthy society is one where people are empowered to care for their bodies, minds, and communities, and where systems are in place to ensure that no one is left behind. Governance, too, must evolve. The political structures that have existed for centuries often fail to reflect the needs of the modern world. A new vision for the future requires systems of governance that are transparent, accountable, and truly representative of the people. It calls for a politics of cooperation rather than division, one where collaboration across political, cultural, and national boundaries is the norm rather than the exception. This vision demands leaders who are not motivated by power or personal gain, but by a genuine desire to serve the collective good and to protect the commonwealth of the planet. Technology, which has the potential to transform our world in unimaginable ways, must be harnessed for the collective benefit of humanity. In the past, technological advancements have often been driven by profit motives or military agendas. But in the future, technology should be used to solve humanity's greatest challenges: poverty, hunger, disease, and environmental destruction. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and biotechnology must be used to enhance our lives, not to replace or harm us. The future vision for technology is one that serves humanity, empowers individuals, and preserves the planet. But the future vision for humanity is not solely about systems and structures. It is about the people who make up those systems. A new vision for the future requires a shift in the mindset of individuals. It requires people to see themselves not as isolated beings, but as part of a global community, interconnected with one another and with the earth. It calls for a new kind of consciousness, one that transcends selfishness and embraces compassion, understanding, and respect for all living things. At the heart of this vision is the recognition that every individual has intrinsic worth, and that the pursuit of happiness and success should not come at the expense of others. It is a vision where people are empowered to pursue their passions and dreams while also contributing to the common good. In this future, success is not measured by wealth or status, but by the positive impact one has on the world and the people around them. The new vision for the future is one of inclusivity, where diversity is not just tolerated but celebrated. It is a future where differences, whether in race, gender, culture, or belief, are seen as strengths, not as sources of division. It is a future where people work together regardless of their differences to create solutions that benefit everyone. In this vision, everyone has a seat at the table and no one is excluded from the conversation or the decision-making process. In this new future, love and compassion are the guiding principles. It is a future where empathy drives action, where people are willing to step into each other's shoes and work together for the common good. It is a future where kindness is the norm, not the exception, and where collaboration replaces competition. It is a future where conflict is resolved through dialogue and understanding rather than through violence or war. A future where people recognize their shared humanity and work together to create a better world for everyone. A new vision for the future is not an abstract idea, it is a call to action. It requires each of us to examine our own lives and ask, what role do I play in shaping the future? How can I contribute to a world that is more just, more sustainable, and more compassionate? It requires a commitment to make conscious choices, to challenge the status quo, and to take responsibility for the impact we have on the world. It is a future that will not come about by chance or by waiting for someone else to lead. It is a future that must be built brick by individuals, communities, and nations working together toward a common goal. This vision for the future is bold, but it is not beyond our reach. It may require sacrifice, it may require hard work, and it may require us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our societies. But it is possible. It is possible to create a future where the well-being of all people and the health of the planet are prioritized. It is possible to create a world where love, compassion, and respect are the cornerstones of society. It is possible to build a future where justice, equity, and sustainability are the guiding principles. The future is not predetermined, it is ours to shape. And with a new vision grounded in hope, creativity, and collective action, we can create a future that reflects the best of who we are and all we aspire to be. The future is not simply a place we are heading toward, but a space we actively create. It is shaped by our collective efforts, our choices, and our willingness to challenge the status quo for the greater good. The new vision for the future requires a radical reimagining of how we live, how we relate to one another, and how we treat the planet. It demands that we embrace values of compassion, sustainability, and collaboration, and that we build systems that uplift every individual while nurturing the health of the earth. That we are not powerless in this process. In fact, each of us plays a pivotal role in bringing this vision to life. By starting with ourselves, by choosing to live with purpose, to act with kindness, and to think beyond the immediate, we can spark change in our communities, our countries and our communities, our countries and our world. But this is not a vision that can be realized in isolation. It requires cooperation, unity, and shared responsibility. We must come together as one global family, setting aside our differences in favor of a collective future where no one is left behind. The challenge before us is great, but the potential for transformation is even greater. The future is not something we must fear or wait for. It is something we can create. It starts with the vision we hold in our hearts and minds and is made tangible through our actions. As we look forward, let us do so with hope, courage, and the unwavering belief that a better world is not only possible, it is within our reach.